Thank you. Good morning to everybody. So I'm academic counselor of IGNU, H Biswas. Today, again, MMPH J05, this is Organizational Development and Change. And today we have to discuss the last block, that is your block number 4. This is marked in the red color. The role of change agent. There are 2 units, that is unit number 13 and 14. Unit number 13 is the roles and the skills in managing change. And unit number 14 is managing resistance to change. So both units are very important as far as the knowledge and also for the exam point of view, because definitely the questions are coming from this area. So now we have to see the definitions and then the detailing of the roles and what are the reason behind it and why it is needed. So everything in details. So as the globalization of economics and the resultant competitions leverages, deregulations, privatizations. It's all are the because of that. So now the mergers and acquisitions and the development of the internet and web-based technologies and so many the latest art of the technology, everything redesigning, reengineering is all change the landscape in which the organizations business are used to operate in the past. Now these all are the required. So most important challenges that is before a manager today is how to manage the change in a changing world with the knowledge of traditional and the rigid, the static management systems and the process. So, what are the challenges are ahead? So that has to be identified and work on that so that the change process can be done smoothly. Now there are two aspects. One is the organizational point of view and from the individual point of view. Now first things we have to see the organizational changes because there are two parts as we earlier session we have discussed that change are to be in the organization as a whole. This is the macro levels and the individual changes that is we can say is in a micro levels. So both the changes are required. Then will be aggregated all these changes in a target manner. To change in a natural phenomenon because as we know the human systems change, but it is less often as compared to a business organizations because the human changes are different ages are there. But in the case of organizations, it will be different because in the humans life cycles, you see there are birth, then children, childhood, and the youth, then the middle age group, then old age, then slowly reaching to the death conditions. But in the business organizations, while considering the business, then when it is in a mature condition, then you have to see for new product or new business, new opportunities, new initiatives, everything are required for the survival of the business in the domestic front, in the international front also. So business organization is either a piecemeal change to deal with the routine problems or a plan change to deal with not only the present problems but also in the anticipated problems also. Because within the organizations, day-to-day basis, what are the problems are coming that has to be sorted out, and at the same time, you have to for launching the new projects, you have to anticipate. You have to what type of problems may occur. So before that, you have to forecast and take a action plan accordingly. The need for change. The need for change in the organization is for the following purposes. That is one of the creativity, because creativity is one of the area which is continuous process. Then the directions is also required. Leadership changes or role of the leaderships. And another is the delegations, delegation of power, definitely authority. Then the coordinations and the collaborations. These all are the function areas for the need for the changes. Then nature of change. The change in an organization is a requirement is to maintain a level of the growth or to lead from the front. The nature of change can be understood by the process of change. That is, there are three stages. You can say there is the unfreezing stage, changing, and the refreezing stages. So unfreezing means awareness is required. You have to all the employees should be aware to know the things, understand the things. So these phases are, but these stages are, you can say the unfreezing stages. So then the change and the when the things are processed under process, and finally the your rephrasings again they have to put in there with a new knowledge, new enthusiasms. So you have to rephrasing to them again. Maybe the skill levels will be high, their knowledge level will be high. Unphasing stage and rephrasing stage are totally different. Unphasing stage, that time the awareness knowledge is not nothing. Let it be zero. But in the case of rephrasings, that time they are 100% skilled, they're knowledgeable, knowledge are everything are there. Now, in details, we can say unfreezing is basically to motivate and make the individual or the group ready to change. They are to ready for the change so that they can smoothly can be uh, because you see it is a sometimes the resistance are come during the unfreezing times. Why it is required for motivations? Because most of the those, old ages or above 50 ages employees, they are always rejecting the uh, new new things. Means it is by the phenomena, the resistance are coming in the mind. Why should I learn the new things? What will be the benefit for that? Lot of questions marks are in the mind. So due to this, the behavioral pattern will change most of the cases. Even though the changes is fruitful, changes ultimately it will be better for the organizations or better for the employee. But initially, to understand the things, it's very difficult to understand. So that's why during the unfreezing times, you have to focus on that area where the employees are not motivated fully or they are not putting their effort 100%. In brief, the unfreezing is the breaking down of the mornings, uh, then your customs and the tradition of an individual. So, and the old ways of the doing things, what the way, the pattern, practices has to change so that he is ready to accept the new alternatives. Now, see, there are some of the physical removal of the individuals, that is being a change from the customs. Then undermining and the distraction of all social supports, that is also considerable point. Demeaning and the humiliating experiences to help the individuals being changed to see his old self as unworthy and thus to be motivated to change. And number four is this a consistent linking of the reward with the willingness to change and to and of the punishment with the unwillingness to change. That is also needed because those who are really willingness or willing to do, then that should be rewarded. And those who are not willing to do these things, the changes, some punishment should be there. Initially, you have to try to convince them if they are not denying or not obey the rules and regulations and not taking so much interest, then due to this negligence and uh, the code of conducts can be implemented. Corporate management include the chief executives and the several top executives who are involved in the policy decisions. So corporate management as such, the definition of the corporate management as lying because where the CEO and board of directors, those who are involved, especially for policy making decisions, for strategy management positions, um, for their purposes. Consultant. Now, consultant is basically maybe it may be one person or maybe a team of consultants. So usually comes from the outside. They are coming from the outside. All are expert, and their role to give a support, give a ideas to the organizations based on their experience and knowledge in the similar field. So some of the functions performed by the consultant. Now, consultants, some of the functions are implementing functions, because during the implementing is very important, because those who have already experienced and they know the already thing are executed earlier, so they can better way can instruct or give a guidance. So that's why the implementing function is important, and that is only can be possible by the consultant. Then alternatives generating functions, because uh, different situations, different alternatives are required. Uh, there is no thumb rule to run the project, maybe. So that experience are in a, accountable. I mean, that experience are giving a right direction. And the process facilities functions. That is also what type of process are important based on the business scenario. Stock absorbing functions, because the resource sharing the function, then your resource building functions, self liquidating functions, internal resource persons. So all are the mostly the your shock absorbing functions. Then support of the community is also important. Linkage with the consultants, then stabilization of the role, the professional development, then implementation team. Implementation team is basically the collaborating the building functions, because to build the groups, to uh, create a tempo of the work. Then your reviewing function is also important, because in the implementing stage is the process. During the process, review is very important, because based on the review you can get the feedback, and you are in the right path or not. The project is change process are in the right process or not. That can be identified easily. Policy formulating functions, because the chief implementer, monitoring function, then diagnostic functions also there, and then executive functions, task force functions, all are different aspect, different activities we can say that functions are give a support to your consultancy projects, consultants. Now, other forces of changes. What are the forces? That is, the organizations are vibrating with the force of changes, because you see the organizations are encompasses um, some internal forces, then your some external forces, and some of the things. So, to other forces of the change that affect the organizations. Then world politics. So world politics in the sense the when the stability is very important. The organizations in the recent years have been driven by the market boundaries rather than political boundaries. So international politics and the policies basically also affects the trade and the business. Countries receive the status of the favored nations or sanctions are imposed on them. Economic factors have become the commenting force in a highly divided world today, because you see the world politics were whatever the things the trade basically the trade policies impact on the overall in the global business. So the leading companies in the world can driven the market. Uh, so that's why it is important, because some because of the market boundaries, sometimes the sanctions and then ban. So many issues are there where the trade systems can be disrupted. So that is basically here actually the forces of change. So we have to careful about it, and you have to take some decisions how to cope up this world politics. Then technological changes. So technological changes, there's the information and the communication technologies have sunk and the distances across the countries, organizations. So technology does not refer only to machinery or equipment only, the tools. It also concerned with the information and the knowledge as inputs are transformed into outputs. So earlier what happened, the technology normally engineering, machines or that concept was now the technology are in every stage, especially in the IT, I mean the information technology, where there's so much things are about database, data clouds, so inputs are coming. Based on this input, you can transform into output. So that's why it is very important. So that changes are drastically, I think, increased and now necessary also. The globalization and the government policies. Here, actually, another aspect is there. This is also a force of the changes. That is, the globalization affects the economy in a number of ways. That is, globalization, liberations, as organizations in any part of the world can manufacture, process, and sell its products, services to any part of the world which is liberalized. So that even apart from that, a lot of government policies are also time to time they are implementing, so which is also the impact of the changes means that is also the forces of change. Now, change isn't. Now, what is the role of a change? Change isn't as such can be in every level. Maybe in the CEO levels, in the middle management, in the supervisors, management, and it may also from the lower level also. In the means the workers also, individuals also. So that change isn't should be in all levels. So it should. What is the play for these things? Now, role of external changes. External change agents mean in the case the environmental condition, external change agents, maybe the form of the alliances, brokers, regulations, the regulatory body. These all are the external change agents. They have to regulate the things, keeping in view of the market, keeping in view of the community, the economy also. So in all these things are the external agents. This influence in the market, in the change in the organizations also. So internal now the internal consultant. Internal consultant is important roles. That is, as I said, the internal consultant should be there. Then they should be master in the change process. They should know everything, and they can handle that role, important roles. Managers needs to have the extensive understanding of the environment surrounding their business and have a very good idea about the threats and the opportunities, because managers should have a good enough, I mean, knowledge should be at par with the uh, consultant, as if a good consultant, because they should know what are the problems going on in the individuals and subordinates within the department. So accordingly, what are the threats may come and what type of opportunity is there. So everything has to be analyzed, and accordingly he has to understand the things. Then community activities. It is also observed that the intellectuals, scientists, community activities play a vital role in the organizations or in the social changes. Then the leader. What is the role of a leader? The change agent needs to have a vision and the dreams, because leaders should have a good visions. He should know how to inspire the peoples, the subordinates. Clear image of the futures, because should be a dream, and how to fulfill the dreams, that art of that technology, art of this knowledge is great. And uh, communicates. Communication is also very that levels. There should be expert on these levels also. Speak the languages in a very good manner. Now, the role of organizational management. Now, organizational management has to be uh, specific roles. So one of the roles is that they have to initiating the change, put that with the management of the organizations. Because suppose for the new projects are launching and maybe things. So before that, the management has to be propagated the things, advertise the things, and initiate that change. What type of change is required. So before that, they have to plan it and take actions on it. So Apex management group of the organizational management can perform. There are two roles: evolving the policies and legitimizing the changes. So this can be done by the bringing the about the policy change, or maybe the planning and the recommending the plan change, etc. So for any change to be effective, active, support by the top management is essential, because whatever the change process is going on, or maybe in the planning stages, so all the time it should be. I mean, other way, the top management interventions is very much required. His initiatives, his leaderships, his motivations is always required. Institutionalizing changes. Institutes, yeah, what are the institute that should be institutionalizing change is also required. The process of change goes through an adverse path. So there are parts and the growth of the decline. So if the process is long, people sometimes lose their interest and the enthusiasm, because it is a very lengthy process and taking a long time. So you have to have such mechanisms so that the people can very early, very fast, they can knowledge it, sharing with the things what to do and how to cope up the changes. So that enthusiasm and creations are very much required. Two factors are extremely important. The change effect efforts or the new approaches have helped in enhancing the performance, and the initiative started. Because you see, the any process by any approaches, ultimately aim is the performance. You have to perform the things. So you have to enhance the performance by the help of good approaches. Because approaches should be very good, unique, and accessible, understand, and easily digestible. Means accessible also means in the case of feasibility should be there. Otherwise, the people can start bored, they cannot perform well. So, keeping in view of the good performance, you have to fix this which is should be like that way. So, initiative basically started from the management team to take the forward by the successive management, and it has been observed that when the change champion retires, his successor finds it hard to resist the pursuit precepts from Bay Area's quarters, and things come back to the square one. Here actually what I things are emphasizing, because during the process, the expert people or knowledgeable persons, when they are in the executions, and maybe due to course of trainers, they are now retired. So then it will be some break is there, because that's why the successor is required. Because parallelly, suppose for there the some of the project manager, so definitely one assistant project manager is required, so that if the project manager is leave or retired, so that assistant project manager can deal the situations based on the experiences. So always some backup or things are so, and this is the one of the requirement. So renewal process and started a year or the two to disable the changes effects fail. Sometimes it has happened. Suppose for 1 year you have started things, but some gap is there. It is not coming, and again you are started the project. So tempo and the flow of consistency is losing. So sometimes because of that, change process, the effect is totally the whatever the efforts are failed. Now, creating a learning organization, because this is also important, because when you are talking about the change, role of change isn't. So, learning is also very important. You have to create such a platform where the employees can learn the things, and definitely should be in line with his work job. What are the job he is performing? That learn knowledge should be enhanced their performance. So there should be a single loop learning and another double loop learning. So both the things are applicable. Learning organization is a develops capability to adopt the change. That is, for example, the Maruti, Tisco, Tata Motors as a called the learning organization, because they are all the time there is some training and development on the learnings are new creations, new models, everything are already in the research mode. So changing business environment are needed the creation of the learning organizations. Now the formatting a strategy, because strategy is also very important, because organization strategy will flow the vision of the organizations, because the CEO, she should focus on very long distance. You can see it, because basically he has to foresee what are the things that are coming in the futures, and that responsibility you have to take it. And because you see, any CEO, he alone cannot be bring about the changes. So he has to take a team. All the organizations people has to support. So that's why that leadership is required. So that's why the good strategy is required. The strategy is very much important. The organizations and the responsibility for bringing about change is shared at various levels. There, the different structures should be there. So leveraging the structure, there is a general perception that the structure is uh, uh, diagrammatic presentation of the organization chart. But but the structure includes how people relate to one another. Because not only the diagram, not only the flow chart or something, uh, some block diagrams. No, organizations you have to see who are reporting to whom. This and it is really in a bidirectional or not, and who is influencing, and how the politics can be used to bring about the change, and how the momentum for the change can be created. All these things are is a part of your structure. So effect of the change requires involvement of the both formal and informal structures of the organizations. Both the way it is required. So structure can be leveraged for the change by the bringing out the organizations in the organizations. Reorganizations or the restructuring involves the relocating and the resources where they are needed, because during the formation of the for the changes, so we required some of the restructuring. So during the restructuring process, relocating the resources are very important. So right person should be in the right positions, and so that the performance levels cannot be compromised, because you have to see the performance itself. Now some new structures are uh, coming up. That is one is your flex structures, then your network organizations, cellular organizations, or different things are there, uh, are basically the important. So any change in overnight you cannot expect it. So it is some slow and gradual process. So very often it is observed that the systems evolve over a period of time. Therefore, The reinsurance is not that high. So system which has undergone change in the organizations or the require the change are this under. So strategic considerations for the change is basically one of the appraisal systems. From there you can do it. Then the systems can be changed by its own slow and gradual process. And then strategy consideration for the change in appraisal system, then your strategy by the step by step change, then strategy by level change, then strategy of department by department change. You see here, it is very important to understand the things. The strategic consideration you see here, the different levels and different steps are also there. So first thing the steps, then the different level change and departmental also changes. So that overall, all together, the change can be performed. And it is by a good appraisal systems it is possible. Reward system is also important because for changing the things, the reward systems are giving one of the key roles. It is reinforce the performance, the positive, motivate the things. People can work more. And another thing is your criteria for the reward has to be keep in mind. So the right persons who are really hard work and perform nicely, they have to awarded reward should be there. So now you see the reward is soft or hard skills. So that difference is, the reward level of reward is also to be identified. Whether only the performance is to be rewarded or the risk taking cost things in innovation are the effect. Because you see, as I give you an example, the most of the those who are in the hill station project, those are the multinational companies, those who are posted in a very remote areas or maybe the some hardcore areas where the risks are there. So they are rewarded program amount or whatever the facilities are different. And those who are in the cities and metros where the less risk problems are less. So whatever they are doing the performance, maybe it is also good, but compared to the risk area, so that's why the level of reward are also to be considered accordingly. That should be very common for all. The reward system is also levelized amount wise or facility wise. Whether the rewards recognize one's contribution across the functional teams, then designing the cafeteria benefit systems to other choices of the employees. Because you see the most of the corporate areas, you see the cafeteria, that what that type of benefits are. This is also a part of your reward systems. Then communication systems. This is also very important because when the technology are adopted very fast, so at the same time the revolutionary communication processes are also required. Ranging from a electronic mail to video conferencing. See the level of the communications are too high. So impact of the technology on the communication system in the organizations has been accepted, and changes and the challenge faced by the organizations is to educate the people about the use of the sophisticated communications systems, because the all the individual should be uh, enough knowledge technically how to utilize this technology, how to communicate the things, because it may be a telephone, it may be video conferencing. So they have to adopt or accepted the things, and very fast they have to take their the facilities, what are the facilities are there. That this is a great opportunity to develop individually and the organizations also. So communication system should be robust and it should be very smooth way, uh, can be run the company. So as early as possible, the latest technology to be implemented in the organizations. Cultural changes as a lever, because that is a lever, pivotal, you can say, because the culture is very important. Culture is the DNA of the organizations, you can say, because any organizations can be judged by his culture only. When the people are coming in the community, in the outside of the organizations also, based on their behaviors, based on their way of talking, they are what the way they are communicating the things. It is observed by the all the peoples, and they can analyze the things how best this company. So culture is one of the uh, lever of the company. So that's why the culture saying is the DNA of the organizations. In organizations, culture is observed in a formal and as well as the informal ways also. Suppose when you are in a get together or you are in a meeting while you are working, so based on your persons, what the way you are presenting, your personality are showing your culture of the organizations. It can be identified. So organizations having a strong culture clearly articulate and passionately communicate the culture values and particular to socialize and induct new recruits of the organizations, and the new persons are will be attracted. They have to motivate the things. Oh, such a nice company. You see this gentleman, what the way he is. So everything are it is create things. Just for example, your British Airways, ONGC, Wipro, so all are good culture company. Tata's, all most of the Tata's groups, everything are very well cultures. So branding, or people can understand the things based on their work. So skills are required for the role of a change agent, because it is also very utmost require the skills. The change agents would require the following skills to be able to keep themselves and the organizations afloat in the future. So essential of the business environment, vertical, horizontal functionings, the leaderships at all levels, as I said, because any change is required, there are every level some leaders. Leadership in the sense manager, good leadership, and then even the worker also. That leadership skills should be there. So, uh, so maximizations the information as a flow can be supportive systems. People can change very easily. Then some of the areas of the expertise, this is strategy formulations, human resource management, marketing, sales. These all are the special expertise groups. Then the negotiation and conflict resolutions expert, so that successfully they can implement the management of the changes. These all are the different uh, changes and expertise. Then competency. Another aspect is the competency is the underlying the characteristics um, of the persons that results in effective and the superior performance as per the Barty's 1952 he has written. A scale is used for the applications or working for the performance. There are so many things are there. Some of the important things I'm highlighting is the cognitive competitiveness, because you have your knowledge power, functional and technical competencies. Because with the equipment, you are really familiar with this equipment and how to handle the things, maximum optimum utilization of this particular this machines you are not. Then personal competencies. This for the self control, attitudes, traits, and your values. So, and another part is your interpersonal competencies. All are skill levels are required for the managing changes. Then all these things, all these skills, so far we have discussed all these things. Who is this person responsible for these things? For that, HRD managing the changes. HRD is a role where he can implement in a calendar way throughout the year. He can program in such a way so that some such revolutions can be done. So so many ways are there. There's a web-based training systems, online training systems, offline, then your in-house training systems, then your e-learning. There are so many instructional systems are there. The case-to-case basis, HRD can be fun. So this is the way can be the intellectual competency can be increased and some skill also can be based on so that the traditional training competencies can be superseded by the new technologies. Nature of now we see the as you know when the any changes are coming, the resistance automatically coming. So what type of natural phenomena, the natural resistance for that voicing disagreement, because one of the things of disagreement, no, I'm not agree with these things. So it may be willingly, it may be unwillingly, it may be the not knowledge about it. So initially, some disagreement may come, may or may not. Strike is also because of this, the understanding between the unions and the management. Sometimes it is created some differences. So strikes is another issue, part of your resistance part. Go slow. The people are not working 8 hours fulfilled. Maybe they are very slow down. Maybe the motivational problems. Then employee turnover. People are leaving, maybe taking leaves. So many issues are there. These all are the resistance parts. Loss of loyalty, they are not believed, some trust are reduced. They are very much thinking they are individuals' futures, not the organizational futures. So loyalty is also moral, is also lowering the moral absence, then avoidance, no, I will not do these things, low tolerance, argument, and the temperament, short tempering. So all these things are the issues are coming in the different nature of the resistance participant. Now, how to handle the thing? And now we have to discuss why this, the reasons behind it, why the things. I mean, lot of issues may be there because he does not understand the things, knowledge, skill, fear of the job. There are some things. Or maybe the behavioral pattern has changed due to problems in the home front, maybe in the social. So anxiety is all of the and sometimes the uncertainties of the change. You know, if the company is changing this thing, the new project, maybe I don't know where I'll be getting a good post or not. Whatever the experience I have, if the new technologies come, shall I cope up the things or not? So all these things, the fairness are coming in the mind. Anxiety are building up. Because of the anxiety, the reactions and the resistance are coming, argument and all these things. So that's why it is a prime required to before the change process, you have to have a create some awareness and to individual basis, group, departmental wise, it should be some propagated or some of the propaganda is required. So in some positive approach to the resistance, to how to resist the things is required because it is basically the negative part because any things are any resistance are showing. So now what are the steps? Some lot of steps are there. The treatment of the resistance adopted from the crab. So many authors are written. Make expression of the resistance shape. Ask for it or honor it. Listen the things. What is the problem he is facing? Acknowledge these problems. Reinforce the permissions to resist. Exploring. This to me is the authentic from the preview and resistance, rechecking, improve. So there are all of the some of the steps are there to for the treatment of the resistance. Then there are four steps basically. There's a surfacing, the making the expression of the resistance rate, then the honoring. That is honoring means you are honoring the things. You have to listening carefully the particular employees' problems, and you have to acknowledge the things and reinforce whatever the atmost required. You are just try to understand the things and give a resistance so that he cannot take a part of this thing. So reinforce the things. Exploring. There are distinguished authentic from the previous registers. Reaching, as we have already discussed. Then the language of resistance. Another part is very important because sometimes people are posting in such a area where the language barriers are there. This definitely feel some problems because if we post there, maybe I'll not be able to contact with the local people. My language is not in a may create a problem. So she some sort of anxiety are coming. So resistance may show that some of the persons are threatened by the changes. So they feel some of the threats. So if the resistance is not regimented, so it is likely to come out the different ways of the expressions. So expression difficulties with the changes. So that's why the abroad postings, those who are in international companies, when they are deploy their employees to other world, other countries. So definitely some criteria is there. You have to fix it. You have to learn the languages, maybe the German or something, or what the languages required, local languages, maybe 6 month courses of this. This company develop that skills, language skills. Then after that you have to deploy it so that happily you can do it. Otherwise the resistance will come. So that's why the what are the basic sources of these things? Resistance, why coming? The lack of knowledge, as I already said, that the lack of knowledge is one of the reasons for register changes. Another is the selective perceptions. Because no, I'll not do this. I have to do is this part of it. The selective is very selective mind. So that changes introduced, the employees are more concerned about the how it affects them personally rather than the entire organization. He is concerned about his own. So this is of the one of the area. Then your fear of uncertainty, because most of the employees they are concerned about these futures. So then she feels some threats when the new changes are coming. So number of fears like the loss of status, the power, income, uncertainty about their ability to cope up the work demand come in the futures. And he has very much annoyed that shall I accept it or not? I will be able to do this job. So that type of questions marks are coming in the all in the mind. Aversions to risks that changes threatens those who like to comfort the familiars. Because once you are in a very comfort zone, so suddenly it is changing in another zones, maybe for the development purposes. But even though that people are reluctant to switch over to other zone when they have feel some comfort. So that is also another the aversion to risks. They are not going to take some risks. So he himself not required to destabilize the things. So it calls giving up and the status quo. Then your inertia of the structures, because the number of built-in mechanisms provide the stability to organizations. So every organization has to got its own systems, process, policies, and procedures. So which consequently any change in the structural aspects has cascading effect other related systems. Because when you are in a structured way, flow of positions, everything are in a routine manner. So certainly not the stuff. So again, it will require some stabilizations. To stabilize it is requires some times. So the policies and procedures should be in such a way that as early as possible the systems can be stabilized very fast. For during the structuring is very important. How fast you are in a relative system positions, so that the process can be start immediately without any hampering. So this creates a hurdle of the introducing the organizational change. Sometimes it is very hurdle to create links. This create a in organizations where the structural changes are introduced. So this is the very important because it is a quite phenomena or human natures are there. We would not like to disturb things where we are feel happy sometimes, but we don't know what is the development is required. So sometimes the organizations are uh, try to understand the things, convincing the employees, okay, you can go there and take the charges and it will be better for the organizations and you. So this the process is taking a time for that. Set to power dynamics because structural changes with the ensuring the change, decision making patterns are also. So there are so many aspects of there because in a democratic decisions making can threaten the managers that is affected by it because the power is also important. Group pressures is also there. The group norms by the organization over the year they become a bottleneck in bringing about the change. This is common observations that a single member suggested by the management willingly. Because so that's why the group management and the norms should be smooth and very easily accessible so that what are the bottlenecks, the problems are there that can be sorted out very as early as possible. However, the group affiliations with the union does not allow to do so. Therefore, he is likely to resist the changes. Now, blinkered view of change. Any organization consists of four basic elements, there's namely trust, tasks, structure, technology, and the people. The focus on any of the element of the organizations will bring about the corresponding change in other elements as well. Because when you are focused on particular one of the elements by the structures, so definitely it will affect the other uh, elements also. So this type of view are keep in mind when you are focusing or changing some of the things. So at the same time, it will affect that area also to look after. Now, type of resistance, that is emotional resistance, then your rational resistance, and your method of the handling the resistance, how to handle the things. So communicate effectively. That is one of the major things. So the most effective way to reduce the resistance is to communicate with the employees and to help them. Logic, what is the logic behind introducing a change? And you see them because so that they can understand, yes, because of that, it may be a required continuous process, it may be a one meeting, it may be two meetings, one lecture, two lectures. So continuous discussions are required. So you have to communicate the things. Then definitely some fruitful result will come. Participative decision making. Since the security and the self-esteem and the are the underlining the fears of resistance to change. So you feel and give you some security. You are also a part of this company. You are also a owner of this company. Your share is also there. Your work is also important. You are also a very valuable person in the company. So that way you have to dilute his fears the change process. Involvement of the employees in decision making, because you can take your ideas, but okay, you tell me, you give your ideas, okay, we'll try to implement the things, your ideas. Then you have to take some of the levels, you can take his ideas also. Feel proud, okay, my decision is also taken by the management also. So definitely it is considering if it is a good decisions, definitely it should be implemented. But the way it has come, who has given these ideas doesn't matter. So people are, your organizations are sometimes the good decisions can come from the individual level also. So that type of view to create and give them opportunity to express their opinions. So then only very easily the change process can handle nicely. Negotiation is another important part, because through these negotiations only lot of resistance can be reduced. Cooperations and the manipulations is also required, because the cooperations are very much important. The leaders should come and discuss with the employees even during the working time, and in any forums and any forums they can discuss. Providing support is also another aspect. You have to give in the resistance to minimize the things, so that the negative activity are to be reduced. Then cohesions is very important, because it will reduce the threat. Pressurize, what are the pressures in the mind of the employees? It is also automatically by the cohesive nature you have to work. What are the bitterness between anybody can be reduced. So very good and winning situations. I mean, the environment is created. Techniques for the managing resistance. So there are counseling is one of the important things. Through this counseling, you have to reduce the resistance. Then your force field analysis. The participants are advised to change agent to identify these forces, and where the while you're identifying the restraining the force, the group develops insight about the ways and everything. Then here are this commitment. Commitment charting is because what the commitment that should be continuously counting, means charting. Yes, this is you have to do it. So that is way it is important to handle the care of things, as they are the sensitive in any actions. The chart will indicate the status of the people who have committed at present and whose commitment needs to be ensured. So that type of things are required. Should be charted, should be notified, should be announced through these different forums. So commitment is very important. Now you see there are some of the sources are given, that is perceptive things, and then your participation in the diagnosis process, and some of the sources of the disease, and how to cope up with the mechanisms. Yes, there are fair and the large things, and the phasing of the changes. This is all that the way you have to changes are there. So many. Now some of the important questions are there. They explain the keyword of the organization change, then you explain the function of the change, skill of the managing change, where the things are, type of questions are normally on these questions. Then the people, the organizations, why do individuals organizations resist the change, as I discussed right now? What are the sources of resistance? How to cope up the mechanism of the changes? Discuss and process. So this is the your some of the questions are there. So I think now mostly we have to cover up all the blocks. Now the next questions we have to discuss about the recap of all the things, all the blocks, and some case studies also. So thank you very much. Thank you.